problem is that we are also facing record high electricity rates. And those are forcing a lot of Massachusetts businesses to tighten the belt, to lay off people, and in some cases close up shop. I've also talked to school superintendents who have had to cut academic programs because the cost of fueling school buses has gone through the roof, and they only have so much budget, and they've got to live within that budget. The impact on our small businesses has been devastating. A recent survey of business owners in Massachusetts showed that 56% of respondents have lost profits due to higher energy costs. Massachusetts and the New England region have become the highest electricity costs in the nation. We're going to hear first from Mayor Barrett, North Adams, who's been an absolute warrior against the prices of energy in North Adams and throughout the Berkshires. And he's here today to outline his concerns that market consolidation in U.S. petroleum markets has hurt consumers in Western Massachusetts particularly. He's been a staunch ally in the fight against big oil's stronghold on the economy. And the mayor legitimately asked the question, how does big oil justify these extraordinary profits that we face today, measured against the needs that we have for alternative renewable fuels and other investments, which have been shortchanged because of their insistence on holding on to those high levels of profits. We all deserve answers to those questions. Why has the price of oil nearly doubled in the last year? Prices shouldn't, in a properly allocated marketplace with competition, they shouldn't leap at that rate. Twice I've written to the Bush administration requesting an investigation, and twice they refused to move forward. With Americans questioning the fairness of record high oil and gas prices and the Bush administration's failure to act, we have no choice but to try to fill the void. And when I return to Washington next week, I will be introducing legislation to establish a new interagency oil and gas market fraud task force under the leadership of the Department of Justice to ensure that the energy markets are completely free from illegal market manipulation or from corporate corruption. Congress has received testimony very recently from the energy market experts and major oil company executives that the price of oil and gas can no longer be explained or predicted by normal market dynamics or their historic understanding of supply and demand. An executive from Mobil recently testified before Congress under oath that prices of crude oil should be about $50 to $55 per barrel based on the supply and demand fundamentals that he had observed. Yet current crude oil prices are more than double that. Last week I met in my office with the chairman and the chief executive officer of one of the major oil companies of our country. And he told me that even in their boardroom, they are trying to figure out the degree to which speculation among investors is driving the price of oil and to what degree that represents a distortion of the current marketplace. How Martha Coakley will know this well, that the Justice Department were doing its job, and if laws were being applied as they ought to be, there are ways to tampen down that speculative fervor. And there are ways to try to bring back the law of the marketplace of supply and demand as it ought to work. If the Enron energy crisis taught us anything, it is that consumers are best protected when energy markets are subject to aggressive oversight and enforcement. And unless there is a cop on the beat, vigilantly policing energy markets, especially when supplies are tight in markets with extremely inelastic demand, and we are that way, then if you don't have that kind of oversight, very sophisticated companies can fleece consumer pocketbooks without fear of penalty. My legislation to establish an oil and gas market task force will allow us to root out fraud and manipulation in all corners of the oil and gas marketplace and restore consumer confidence. And when that happens, everyone wins. And I wish I could tell the members of our panel today that there is a silver bullet solution to cure this energy crisis. Unfortunately, there's no one single approach that's going to do it. It's a complex issue, and we have to tackle the problem on many different levels. The problem that I have, and a lot of us are frustrated about in Washington, is that we're not tackling it sufficiently aggressively on any of those levels in the way that we ought to be. We're going to hear today that we need to invest more money into new and renewable forms of energy, and we also know that this could be an extraordinary opportunity for a lot of companies here in the Berkshires and elsewhere. And we hear from one company, Jeff Sharp and Sun Ethanol, are a perfect example of that kind of opportunity because it's a small business with 50 employees headquartered in Hadley that's commercializing a new renewable energy solution for the transportation sector. And Jeff's work represents the very kind of innovative thinking from small business that we need and that could be a part of the long-term solution for all of us. Beyond the federal level, there are innovative approaches being taken at the state level by energy companies, by groups of small businesses, and of course by individual small businesses themselves. Our final two witnesses, David Manning from National Grid and Undersecretary of Energy Ann Berwick from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, are going to talk about their programs to help customers become more energy efficient and also about incentives to buy more energy efficient technologies. As we face the challenge of global climate change, which is growing more and more urgent and compelling, as the science comes back faster and to a greater degree than had been predicted, we need desperately as a country to move in this direction. Just this past weekend, I had the privilege of hosting former Prime Minister Tony Blair at our house here in Massachusetts for a luncheon where we met and talked about global climate change and energy alternatives. And the world is moving faster than we are. We need to understand this opportunity to its full measure. We are going to have to change our habits. Oil and gas, fossil fuel, are a finite resource. So not only do they contribute to global climate change, but there are limits on its availability as China and in India and the rest of the world come online industrially and demand their share of those resources. And as an OPEC oil minister said in 1970, the Stone Age didn't end because we ran out of stones. And the oil age is not going to end because we run out of oil. It's going to end because innovative new companies are going to come online. Amazing things are happening with venture capitalists today. There's a huge future staring us in the face, folks, in terms of energy possibilities. And I would like to see the Berkshires and Massachusetts be the leaders in that. We have a great new clean energy coalition here in this state, 50+ companies that are engaged in major investment incentives today. So we have great opportunities even as we have challenges, and we look forward to exploring those with everybody here today.